airlines in the world, only one has received the industry's highest award for safety twice. Because we've always believed that the services you don't see are just as important as those you do.
According to the website Aviation Source, as post-pandemic problems have continued to plague the airline industry, earlier this month, senior Qantas executives were asked to assist the airline by working as ground handlers as part of a plan to tackle labor shortages. Qantas Airlines Chief Operation Officer Colin Hughes sent an internal memo to employees that Qantas is looking for expressions of interest in a 3-month contingency program. Oh yeah, that's going to go over like a lead balloon. Okay, so I'll get back to the particulars on exactly how many managers are going to be demoted to baggage handlers and for how long. But first, let's find out how such a once mighty airline finds themselves at the point of recruiting high-level executives to work as baggage handlers. Hey, a quick note before we start. Subscriptions, likes, and hitting that notification bell are the lifeblood of any YouTube channel. So if you feel I've earned it, I would greatly appreciate it if you would do all three, and even share with a friend if you like. Once upon a time, Qantas was the gold standard of the aviation industry. Qantas was not only the safest airline, but led the industry in all other categories as well.
All airlines have crashed at one time or another. That doesn't mean that they are not safe.
Qantas.
Qantas?
Qantas never crashed.
So then what the heck happened to Qantas? To be sure, in a post-pandemic world, it's unfair to lay all the blame on Qantas's shoulders. But they sure have seen their share of snafus lately, especially this summer. Earlier this month, Qantas suffered a computer glitch that rained chaos all over Australia and the world for that matter. Opinion writer Van Batum wrote in The Guardian that Qantas fielded the public flak for failing to manage the nightmare queues that resulted. There was a queue from Melbourne Airport's Qantas domestic terminal that reached as far as the international terminal. Never having been there myself, I don't know how far that is, but I'm assuming it's pretty far. But as stranded passengers tried frantically to rebook flights, the Qantas service desk was overwhelmed. She said that if there's one word you don't want to marry to your brand in the anxious, emotional world of the commercial passenger experience, that word is chaos. However, this is exactly the state that the world's once greatest airline, Qantas, finds itself in these days. Chaos. And computer glitches haven't been the only major hang-up for Qantas recently. There have been delayed baggage transfers, staff shortages, and canceled flights. And to quote Van Batum, there is a feeling around Qantas these days of a generalized, spiraling cluelessness that drives the operational dysfunction and frustration at Qantas. The report suggests that as many as 1 in every 10 pieces of luggage Qantas handles every day are getting either lost or not being loaded onto Qantas domestic flights at Sydney Airport. But a spokesperson for Qantas refuted this claim, calling it completely inaccurate. However, Qantas has declined to provide its own figures on mishandled baggage. But since becoming Qantas CEO in 2008, Alan Joyce has taken more of a bottom-line approach to the airline, focusing on profit over productivity. One example of this came during the pandemic grounding of the airline. Qantas received a $2 billion bailout from the Australian government, but the government put no stipulation on how Qantas could spend the money, and Qantas management gave no reassurances either about jobs, routes, service, or quality, while, as The Guardian put it, making the taxpayers pay for 2/3 of the value of the company. So what did Qantas do as a reward for this huge government handout? Well, Qantas management did not maintain jobs and fired over 2,000 ground staff, including cleaners, towing crews, and other ground crews which have now been outsourced to private contractors. And yet, while millions of Australia's flying public were left feeling helpless, there was one Lone Ranger who was mad as hell and wasn't going to take it anymore.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
In the midst of the summer chaos Qantas caused Australia's flying public, one still as of yet unidentified man seemingly tried to even the score by egging and toilet papering CEO Alan Joyce's 100-plus-year-old $20 million 15-room Sydney mansion. Security footage obtained from the July 14 egging shows a shadowy figure approaching the CEO's mansion in the Sydney suburbs before egging and papering it before driving off into the night. Local police say as far as they are concerned, the case will remain closed unless further information comes to light. I guess you could say the police considered the whole thing a joke, and instead of flushing out the toilet paper bandit, they just decided to wipe their hands of the whole incident.
You serious?
And as promised, getting back to the new executive baggage handler program, Qantas COO Colin Hughes said individuals who meet the requirement will be trained and enrolled in the ramp environment at Sydney and Melbourne airports. Hughes said these people will support our ground handling partners who are leading the Qantas operation for a 3-month period from mid-August on. At least 100 managers will be assigned to the frontline roles at the airport to sort and scan bags and move baggage. Hughes added, "You're not expected to choose the role at the top of your full-time job." I'm not sure what that means, but I think he's saying while you're handling bags, you won't be doing executive things like having your 1 o'clock martini while chasing your secretary around the office. Wow, so how about that? I love this idea. What a great way to bring those high and mighty executives back down to earth. So many other companies around the world could learn a lot from Qantas and employ similar programs at their companies. What do you think about Qantas is doing? Or better yet, let me know in the comments section what other companies around the world you would like to see employ this same method with their out-of-touch and overpaid executives. So let me know down below. Well, that's going to wrap it up for now. And before we go, I'd like to thank the Darth Knight once again for supporting the channel with 5 more coffees. Thank you, Mr. Darth Knight. And as always, if you'd like to help support the channel and the work we do, the Buy Me a Coffee and merch links are always in the description, right above the comment section. And as always, until next time, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.